How do you think we treat our kind of disabled and sick in this country? I mean, I read one time that a society is almost judged by how well they look after the people who aren't as capable as everyone else. And if you look at some societies, it's just like impossible, and some really go out of their way with handicapped spaces, with looking out and trying to be aware. How do you think we're doing right now?
I think we're doing really well, actually.
Okay.
I think we are, because, I mean, it's from a patient experience, I mean, it's down to where you live, and then your council and your healthcare team, and everybody looks after you accordingly. And of course, some areas do things differently. Some areas might have other priorities. But on the whole, you know, I do personally believe the treatment opportunities are good for people. The lifestyle support mechanisms with the councils, with the healthcare, because you've got health and social. It's the whole landscape that you've got to think about. It's, you know, it's working together with these people to get the balance right. You might need a bit of extra support. Sometimes, you know, you might, as I did, you had a bit of a reaction to something, or you're having a tough time, whatever's happened. I mean, having a cold can upset my MS. You need a bit of help. So sometimes, you know, it might be help to manage your kids, not to manage your MS. You just need to get that balance right. So it's looking at your whole lifestyle and what can actually, and I knew that as a district nurse, you know, you've got to look at what's missing, what could help you get through the day better, what's going to make you happy, because I think that's really important. I always say when I'm working on projects these days, I've got to have fun as well. And I think that's a big thing for people with MS, to enjoy their lives as well. That's important. But the services are great. And like you said, there's a lot more facilities for disabled people. There's a lot more engagement with disabled people, you know, on any level, really, that they're getting involved with various things. And access, I think, is pretty good in certain areas for vehicles, for wheelchairs, for whatever equipment that you need. It might be a stick, or you might just need to sit down a bit more.
So you're happy with the government, you're happy with the NHS?
I was a little bit stressed when it came, and then I stepped up to the plate with all the disability change, and I said, whoa, stop. And I went on Newsnight and fought the corner on that, because it was too soon and push, and it's like the consequences, let's look at this properly. And I'm glad that they delayed that.
What didn't they like? What didn't you like that they were doing?
I just didn't like the fact that they were rushing it through without thinking through the consequences, without giving people an opportunity to think what it means for them. A lot of people were going to lose a lot of money, which could affect the way that they live their lives, the way that they manage their MS, for me, you know. But also, I just think it was not well thought through. It was an idea, it was like, quick, let's do that. And I said, woo, no. Because you can't just do that. You need to think about the consequences. You need to think about how the country's going to pay for all of these things as well. You know, you've got to think about, well, if people can't get that support anymore, what's it going to do to their health? That's going to cost more money. You know, there are fors and against for everything. So I'm glad that they stopped that. And I'm glad, actually, that, you know, they're thinking it through properly, because that's, to me, what was missing. It was a rush, quick win, let's get the disabled bit sorted out.
Right. And again, I mean, do you think you're going to always have to make sure that they remember disabled rights and remember some of these funding issues, because it's easy for that to get ignored, right?
Yeah. No, I think so. And particularly with something like MS, because you can look at someone and you might not even know that they've got anything wrong with them. And that's just MS. There's lots of other conditions where people look the same. They look perfectly healthy. And they might just have problems that you don't see. They're hidden sort of illnesses or problems that they're having. So yeah, I think particularly to get change in any situation, you've got to keep vocal, you've got to keep on it, and you've got to keep your eye on things, because things can just sometimes be pushed through. And you know, and I always say, well, I won't work for a charity. I work with all of them, because I don't want to be deemed as biased to one area. I'm like, well, this is me, these are my choices. I don't want to be in one team which is going to make me think not about other opportunities or other areas in my life. So I think you've got to be balanced with it.
Yeah. No, I was just thinking about how we do kind of interact with our disabled and how we treat them, and you know, do we give them the parking spaces they need? Do we give them the ramps?
Yeah.
Do we allow them to participate in the social events and the sporting events? And I think that really says a lot about us as a society.
Yeah.
When I was 10, my grandfather had a stroke. And so this big, strong guy that I knew all of a sudden was in a wheelchair. And he was the kind of guy that kind of used that, a bit like you, to kind of put his foot on the gas pedal.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden he was almost more active. And he was like, you know, driving around and like in the golf cart and like moving, doing business.
Yeah.
And so for me, he set an amazing example as a grandchild to see, okay, this didn't stop this man, and that we would just take a little longer to get Grandpa into the car, but he was almost more active, sometimes outworking the rest of us.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, and that, you know, and then because you've got something to prove, because people are thinking you can't do that because of that.
Continue watching this fascinating conversation for free by clicking on the link below to visit our website, learn from the best minds in the world, and connect with a community of passionate people building the best versions of themselves. Just click on the link below, and I'll see you on the inside.